Welcome to the Positive Pen Podcast, where your stories and soul work matters. Now let's dive in. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Ronaldo. I'm here at the Positive Pen, and this is Stories, Soul Work, and Substack. I have a special guest today. His name is Chris, like most of you guys probably know. And we're going to sit down and talk about poetry, caregiving, fatherhood, grief, resistance, all the important shapes of stories that shapes us every single day. And I'm looking forward to that. So with that said, there's a couple of the keynotes I want to also address. There was an article that I wrote today called, I better look at it because I forgot what the name is. The Human Behind the Machine, which kind of gives you my pure honesty about AI, the tools that we use as writers and stuff like that. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's taken off pretty well, so it's a really good story from the feedback I'm getting. So I'm happy with that one. So if you're interested in learning more about AI, that's a great story. The second thing that I'm working on right now is Remy's journey. If you are following the journey, one of the things that what Remy is working through is his death. He's learning the challenges of death. If you're not aware who Remy is our support dog. And these are kind of like our live, real situations that I've kind of like put it into more of like a book format. So they're real people, but in real situations that happened, and I'm kind of working through it Remy's eyes and exploring how he would feel first time. And Pop's passed away, so he's dealing with that. He's supporting his mother, and we're kind of getting into other parts of his lives that it gets a little further along the way of talking about grief, talking about what it means to support someone who is challenged by that, and also talk about the void. How do you deal with void? And he's kind of figuring that out. So there's a couple cool things. Well, not cool, but a couple cool paths that he's taking to really taking on those emotions and trying to figure that out. So I'm excited to continue to write that, and hopefully we get to the point where, and I think we're at about another 6 chapters away before I will pull it off the air or put it off the publication, and then I'll publish the book. So this is your chance to see the rough draft. That's what I do with all my books. You read the rough draft, you can comment, you can make suggestions, you can give a little bit more direction. That's part of the process here on the Positive Pen, is sharing stories, sharing ideas, helping each other, writers helping writers. That's what I'm trying to build here. So if you're new, that's the goal. Next week we'll have Erin Gregory on. She is an author, a writer. She's on Substack, and she's starting to trying to work on her book, and that's something I want to bring her on. And that will be our last show for this summer. I will not be back until September 14th. I'll still be writing, but podcasts will be put on hold and coming back on September 14th. So that's all I got. And also the other thing is, I hope you guys like this new background that I created. It might help for those who are trying to figure out what time the show is on. So I try to figure it out and what channels you can watch on it. So if you look at the channels and things like that. And yeah, I was just being creative one night and I created that. So in the meantime, if you have any questions for Chris or for myself, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I will try to respond to it, or ask Chris or try to state it in a way that he can respond to it, and so forth. Again, Chris is with us. He is a person that has been on Substack for a while, about a year, and he has grown pretty fast on Substack, but not without any challenges. And we were talking in the back room there, or offline here, and we were talking about being authentic and being real and being honest. And he he basically said, "Who knew that actually works?" So let's bring on Chris. I'm excited for this conversation. Let's see how Chris is. Chris, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me. And I'm very happy to be here with you. And yeah, the honesty thing was hilarious because, people always ask me, what's your secret? What do you do? I'm like, I'm literally just being me. I'm
Yeah,
telling my story and I'm being consistent. So
yeah.
who knew that would work?
That's with the positive pen, that was the reason why I wrote positive, the reason why I created it was to create stories of people like yourself, and to kind of like tell a story that sometimes is forgotten in the newspaper business and television and things like that. Those kind of get thrown on the side because they're not the glory of crime or whatever, the trigger points or whatever rage bait you want to talk about. These are depth conversations. They're human. They're connecting to the soul. They're they're stories that need to be told, because I always believe that there is someone out there. I Steve Jobs had this great quote. He said, as you walk the path, you don't realize the dots that you have laid in behind. And if you ever look back at the dots, they're not always linear. They're always kind of like zigzagging through. But I add something to that when I did the podcast, when I started doing the positive pen, is like
Mhm.
one of those dots is where someone else is and is trying to figure themselves out. You might be 15 steps ahead of them, but that dot back there is is a place that someone is just struggling. And hopefully the stories like yours, and your story is very tough. I was just talking to a father today, and they were divorced because their son has major seizures and things like that, and has gone through major surgeries and some crazy stuff. And even though he's doing well, he's doing better, but there's so more surgeries in his life. And he's married but can't get a job. There's a whole bunch of other things. And but the father and mother divorced because of the stress and the
Mhm.
pressure to do that. Now, we were talking a little bit about that, and one of the things that you told me, what you said was, we were married first, or something along that line. Let's talk about that moment when you were talking. You're saying,
Oh yeah. So before my son Braden was born, he was born in November of 2014, and before we knew he was going to have all of his issues because of a rare genetic disorder. My wife Melanie and I were together for 6 years. So we had that foundation together for 6 years before we had Braden. And that helped us build a foundation. And, when everything happened with Braden, I mean, his first health scare was when he was 5 months old. So
mm,
we're first time parents. And he's in the hospital with his first round of seizures. It was infantile spasms, which is a baby form of epilepsy.
mm.
So you have two choices when that happens. You either break up and go on a drug bender in Mexico, which sounds cool for a weekend, or or you
Well, that's cool, but okay.
or you stay together, you figure
Yeah.
it out, you embrace the situation and you grow from it. And luckily my wife Melanie and I stayed together, embraced it, grew stronger from it. And, yes, it's very hard. It's been hard the last 12 years, but, you know, as hard as it is, it could have been even harder if we didn't tackle these things head on like we are known to do.
So, was there like a belief or religion, or is it, how do you stay connected, is the, I guess, is the question. Is it faith in both of you? Like, what is keeping you guys still there?
Yeah, I think it's three things. I think it's our foundation that we've built together. I think it's the blessings that Braden has given us throughout these hardships. So, as hard as it's been, he's also given us a lot of blessings. It's like that old adage, when you open Pandora's box and all these bad things happen, but the
Yeah.
one thing left is hope. And that's a good thing to have in your toolbox when all the bad things happen. And then, yeah, there is faith involved. I think it's really not necessarily faith in a certain religion or a creed, but really a faith that, my wife Melanie and I, definitely believe that there's angels looking out for our son, and that
Mhm.
there's people, protecting him from afar, because he's such a pure and innocent person. And so we definitely have faith that there's a higher power involved that's definitely helping us along the way.
That's huge. I mean, especially believing like they're like the blessings and the gratefulness
Hmm.
and all that. Like, I think that's part of our problem in our world. We forget about what is the present moment given us. We're so stuck on the past, which you too could have simply gone back and said, woe is me. Like, why did this
Hmm.
happen to us? And I don't mean that to be rude, but
Mm-mm.
I mean that in a very positive way, because you guys took that and said, we actually we actually are blessed with this child. This child is teaching us something that maybe we needed to learn something, or he's given us so much joy in his own little
Hmm.
way. And I know it's kind of hard as a father because I have children myself. I think about my friend's situation. I go, how does he's not going to have a decent life. It's going to be tough, but
Hmm.
you guys took it upon yourselves and went forward with it, and that's a miracle within itself.
I think one of the reasons my writing has resonated, John, is because I hold both of these realities together, which is grieving the life he would have had and
Mm,
embracing the life he does have. And there are times when I go down that rabbit hole, and it's not very good when I do, where I think about the wedding he won't have. I think about the love that he won't have. I
right.
think about who's going to take care of him when we're gone. Um, but then at the same time, it's a different kind of love that has evolved. And the kind of love that he shows us and the kind of love that we give him,
Mhm.
it's just as powerful as traditional love that he might have had if he was a different situation. So there's a lot to hold when you're a caregiver, especially when it's your child. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who have cared for their parents as they've gotten older with the dementia and everything, and that's awful and definitely very hard. And I've reached out and connected with a lot of those people, but when it's your child and he was born with this particular hand, I am not going to pretend that it was easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah, it's terrible and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. But what do I do in that situation? Make it worse or try to make it better and make the most of it?
Yeah, that's good on you. I mean, really, at the end of the day, that is a huge. I mean, I would struggle with it. I'm not gonna lie. It's not an envy position to be in, because you're right. His future is not. I mean, so one of my blessings, I did work with people with disabilities.
Mm,
That was very cool, and even though um, there were some challenges with them, but the beauty of it, they showed you what love is. They showed you what joy is. They
mhm,
showed you what present is. They were kind of. I mean, it was. I told a story about Jose one time. I haven't been in this facility for a long time, and that he's I don't know, like 36 or something like that, in his 40s. And you're right, he doesn't have a family anymore. They all passed on. He's by himself. He's living in a
mhm,
group home, and it's not. And for him, that's okay. But for us, it's kind of like sad in some ways. But he's happy. He's happy. But when I came back in the facility, you could have hear that I almost killed him because I didn't show up for all those years. And he's like, "Oh my God, you're back!" Like, "Oh my God, you why did you leave?" Like constantly, like, why did like, and he's definitely challenged by some other conditions, but it was welcoming, honestly. It was like, it may put a smile on my face after a long day of on the road and trying to deal with some other stuff that, and that's the kind of stuff that they put a smile on your face. And even remembering your birthday, like after a year or so, and they're like, holy smokes, that, 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 you know, that is awesome in their own. I mean, because they're showing you compassion in a way that most of us humans don't do. I
Hmm.
mean, that's how I see it. So you got on Substack to write about Brady's life, and how did that, or is it Bray? I'm sorry, is that correct?
Braden,
Braden, I'm
Braden.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Um, did what inspired you to do that one day? You just decided, just like, I need to write, or it was just like, or I needed it, like, or just a vent, or what was the first intention of going on Substack and start writing?
Yeah. So Braden was in the hospital from May of 2024 to June of 2024. He was in the hospital for 28 days. What happened at that particular time was the seizures that were dormant for 9 years came back in a very ugly way. Right at the same time, he had an infection that his body couldn't fight off. So, those 28 days in the hospital were the most trying times of our lives. And the first 7 days, it was so bleak that at one point a chaplain gently approached us about last rites. And that is something that I never thought I was ever going to have to deal with, especially because he was medically healthy for 9 years in between the baby seizures and the new ones that came back. And it was just a total mind fuck. But he pulled through. And on that eighth day in the hospital, once the antibiotics kicked in and we were at our lowest point, he literally sat up and smiled. And it was that visceral smile that he does, that only he can do, that really lifted us at a very dark time. So a year later, it was his 1 year of being medically healthy and medically cleared from that particular stay. And I was like, you know what? It's time to write his story. It's time to share his story. It's time to give him a voice. Because if I don't give him a voice, no one else will, because he can't do it himself. And I've talked about this where I just feel very blessed to be his dad and his witness to his spirit that is very perseverant and the blessings that he does give us. And I just feel like there's so many other caregivers who feel underwater and don't feel like they have the capacity to maybe explain or put into words the grind of what it really is.
Mhm.
And I really joined Substack for one reason is so I felt less isolated and less alone. And the other reason was that maybe other caregivers that I connect with can then also feel less isolated and less alone because it is very lonely when you're in those hospital rooms, when you are waiting to see your son's fate and it's out of your control.
Mm.
And because I've been there and because we're still here, like you just said before, connecting those dots, maybe I was at a point that somebody else is at right now on that dot scale. So I just felt like it was time to really get it out there that, this happened and that his life was meant to be a shining light for other people, despite his limitations and despite all the things people might see on the surface. He's a very transcendent person with an amazing spirit.
That's awesome. So what was your first article on Substack?
So my first article, it was August 25th, 2025, and it was his one smile. And it was literally, and it's funny because most of the time I write poems, but this was literally me just bearing it all, telling his story of where I was at that particular moment in my life. And it was actually an early memoir piece for me, just introducing Braden, it was a beautiful photo that my wife Melanie took in a sunflower field of him just smiling with his eyes wide open and his red curly hair. And it was out of control. And,
Yeah.
that was just everything. It was like the first photo of him being healthy that we felt comfortable sharing. And then it was just literally about how he's changed my life, how he's made me a better person, and how his journey and his near death experience, made us all better people, because it forced me to be present and let go of all those milestones that didn't happen, and let go of all that perfectionism that I had in my own head in my life for my own OCD. So it was really my introduction of Braden and my reintroduction of myself to society.
You say something really important there. You had to let go of the past or your expectations.
Mhm.
Was that the bit? Was that a challenge? Was that a really a major issue with you trying to come to grips with your son's reality,
Oh,
or
yeah.
mm,
Mhm. It was literally, so Braden's gonna be 12 years old in November. I wrote
right?
this last year when he was gonna be turning 11. So you're talking about 11 years of pent up frustration and anger about the hand he was dealt, about the systems that did not help us along the way sometimes.
Mm.
You'd think certain things would be covered and they weren't, and you're just like, this is like something he needs. Anyway, it was just letting go of all of that, because you know what? He's still here with us, and I want to be present and enjoy his moments of clarity when he's doing music therapy and drumming along with our music therapist Alicia, when he's happy and clapping his hands and playing with one of his toys, when he's just letting out a belly laugh like only he can let out. So it was 11 years. It was 11 years of all that expectation that you think you have as a first time parent, and finally putting it to bed for real, not like saying you're okay and you're not like, oh, how you doing, oh, I'm fine, and you're not, like actually letting it go was
Mm.
the hardest thing I've ever had to do, other than see my son those first 7 days in the hospital.
So was there a ritual, or like was there a burning of a letter, or was there something? I I just like because people don't understand what it means letting go. Like
Yeah.
and I don't mean I know it sounds funny, but I mean like
No, I get it.
it
It was
like when like letting go means finding peace. When you find peace, that stuff no longer comes in. But what was the like I'm done with this. The
I can
ending.
tell you the exact moment, because
Okay.
I wrote a poem about it, and it was, so he was discharged in June of 2024, and we get home from the hospital after 26 days in the pediatric ICU,
Mhm.
and the equipment that was supposed to be at our house, his oxygen concentrator, breathing,
That's
wasn't
huge.
there yet.
Oh,
So I'm very even keeled, but I was furious. And I was literally about to punch like every wall in the house. I thought we were going to have to go back to the hospital after finally
um,
getting out.
mm,
And my wife, Melanie, uh, essentially, we got home, and this happened like an hour after we got home. And I was furious. I was like, my pop was ready to blow. And I saw her and Braden, and they were in the hallway, and he was clapping his hands and he was smiling, and she was singing to him. And it was that moment. I literally like it's like boiling water and you turn it off. Like I literally just
wow.
like, you know what? He's home. This will work out. I'm going to be in the present. Like I wrote a whole poem about it called The Believer, which was about my wife, me wanting to punch the walls and them dancing in the halls.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where, like, you know what? I have to let this all go. We're still together. We're a family. It's going to work out. About maybe 45 minutes later, after I called a emergency hotline, we did get the equipment. So
Oh,
we didn't have to go back to the hospital.
good.
But it was just one of those long lines of, oh yeah, you're supposed to get this for your child, and then some sort of logistical nightmare ensues and you don't get it. And I was just, already we went through so much up to that point. And again, it was really a credit to my wife for talking me off the ledge. And from that moment forward, I just let it all go.
That's awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
you also said something really important, which I don't think really people really understand. Music actually, there is a sensation in your body
Yep.
once you start
Hmm.
dancing, clapping, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's a new rhythmic thing. So as long as it's a good, I'm not talking about the like the trash music. I mean something like it's
Oh yeah.
harmonizing and something really good.
Yeah.
And that's why I think yacht rock is so important for a lot of people because it gets
Yeah.
people grooving, gets people happy. It's sets off these chemicals in your body, and it actually makes you want more present versus like. Was that sort of the reason why you're now in music therapy with your son? And is it all three of you in there, or is it just him doing that?
Yeah, so we've been in music therapy for 7 years with this amazing woman named Alicia, and we've seen her grow over the years from being a student to being a private practice music
Mm,
therapist to being board certified. And she's incredible. And she every Saturday morning, it's the four of us. It's me, Melanie, Braden, and Alicia. It's for Braden, but it really helps us too. And he has a very special connection to music neurologically. Like there are things he can do during music therapy that he won't do when he's not in music therapy. So, for example, when she sings to him and plays guitar, he'll like grab at her guitar strings. And then when she's singing to him, he'll actually harmonize with her, even though he can't talk, like he's nonverbal.
yeah, yeah.
He'll
Mm.
still on pitch, like almost like hum with her. And it's the only time he ever does that kind of communication. So it's really incredible to witness. And I think there is something very special. And there's a book about it that I have somewhere about a neurologist who wrote about the connection between music and the brain. But it's a huge help for him and for us just emotionally too. It's a great way to kick off our weekend. And
Mm.
it's just a huge boost to see him like in that environment, banging on a drum or playing a xylophone and really being engaged because in other facets, he doesn't always do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was learning about that this past actually I was learning about this past weekend about that. And I really wasn't really and I didn't put any thought into it. And I
Yeah.
was coming across I think I know who the author is that you're talking about. But I was like, yeah, music has a way to help us
Mhm.
overcome some of the fears and anger and things like that to help us get through that. That's part of the challenge, of, especially in your situation. I think in anybody's situation is to be present because the more time you spent in the past, you're more likely to be more fearful. Anxiety will creep in. All those little bad habits will start coming in, and the more you live for the now and music really puts you there. And I didn't realize that until it was this weekend. It was an experience that I learned. So it was, so when you talked about music, I was like, oh, there's a connection. So maybe I needed to learn that for this podcast. Who knew?
I mean, listen, you remember when we were younger and you like, make mixtapes, whether it's for
Yes.
like a girlfriend or your car. Look, I got my car, I got my 1987 Oldsmobile. I need my mixtape. I need my road mix,
Yeah.
and I actually miss that a lot. I'm sure you do too, like
Yeah.
that physical connection to music that we used to have where
Yeah.
you would like string the tracks together and like have a certain order to it. There's like an
Yeah.
art to it. I'm sure you missed that too,
DJ, the
like your
DJing.
yeah,
Yeah.
like your first ever mixtape.
Of course.
Yeah.
Or you're recording, like you have one tape recorder to the radio.
Yes.
And you have to hit the button before the commercial would come on. And sometimes those those idiots at the studio would actually start putting the commercial, or they'll start talking at the end of the
Yes.
song.
Because
And you're like,
they did it on purpose.
damn.
Yeah.
And you had to wait for another hour for that thing to come back on to get the right music. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, we used to take a VHS tape and record MTV videos when we were at school, and
Okay.
then we would come home from school and watch the videos and fast forward the commercials. Me and my brother.
So I'm just curious. You don't have to answer this question, but
Yeah.
do you do both of you work? I mean, how does
Yeah.
that work in your life?
So, Braden goes to school in a special needs school. It's through our Nassau County BOCES program, which is Long Island, New York. And luckily, New York has very good services for kids like Braden. That's one reason we are in New York. We've been here, born and raised, but it's just really good for kids like Braden.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Melanie, she's an art therapist in a hospital setting. So she works full time and doesn't have the option to work from home. And then I work in public relations. And luckily, my company, I've been there 11 years and they give me the grace to work from home uh, in the afternoons to take him off the bus and help with his therapies and dinner time and medications. They understand the situation. They're very,
Yeah.
very, very empathetic. So I'm very loyal to them
Yeah.
as a result. So they know that I do my job, which is a lot of writing for business and things like that.
Mhm.
And then I'm able to take care of him. But yeah, we burn both ends of the clock. And, you know, there, let's put it this way. And you think this is unbelievable, but this literally happened last year. So they were telling us that my son has obstructive sleep apnea, right?
Wow.
So they make us go to do a sleep study,
Yeah.
then another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. So they didn't get enough data for 4 sleep studies. They made us do 5 sleep studies in a year's period while he has obstructive sleep apnea just to get him a CPAP machine, which they give out to old people like candy, right?
Yeah.
So for a year, my wife and I were taking turns waking up at 3 in the morning to make sure my son's still breathing because they wouldn't give us a CPAP because they wanted more data. So these decisions that they make based on getting more data literally affected our sleep pattern for a full year. And
Wow.
then we finally got the CPAP device, and it's been amazing. And he's more awake at school. He's more alert. He doesn't take as many long naps. And for a year, and this is after he was out of the hospital. So they knew he had hypoxia. They knew he had some breathing issues, and they still made us wait a year. So these are the things that we've dealt with that, like, oh, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, that's a year of our lives right there. So
Wow.
it's just
So
unbelievable.
so the medical system is not it's has its hurdles, obviously.
Yeah.
And you got some challenges going on with that. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, that's sad to go through that just because they didn't have enough data. Like, why would you?
Why don't you give us the CPAP machine while you get the data? No, no,
Right.
no, no. No, they wouldn't do that. So that was fun times with the oxygen alarms in his room and
Mhm.
having him hooked up to a pulse ox and putting him on oxygen premature, like, in advance
I don't think that's
of
fun times.
yeah.
I think that'd be
I've
annoying.
written a couple. I've written a couple of poems about it because
Okay.
about 6 months ago he had an RSV infection because it was going around and it was bad, and we it was just like one of the lines in the poem was like the oxygen line curls around him like a question mark, and it was just like another night there that I was something like RSV, another anagram, and I'm sick of these vocabulary lessons. Like it just like I can't anymore. But luckily he's okay.
So, do you guys have so you have other children? I'm assuming.
We actually don't. We just have
Oh,
Braden.
okay.
Um,
I
yeah.
apologize because
No, that's okay.
I don't know why I thought there was another child involved, so I apologize for that.
No, that's I have a lot of nieces that have been very helpful, and we call them the Braden fan club. And
Okay.
I have 2 twin nieces on my side, and my niece Abigail on another side, and we're training them to
Help.
basically love Braden so much that when we're gone, they help take care
Oh,
of him.
that's well, there you got legacy help.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
awesome. So, do you guys go I noticed you're a Mets fan by this,
Yes.
and I because I saw you guys at a Mets game at one time. I think one of the stories you were at a Mets. I think we have you on
I
a
was just
Positive
at the
10.
yeah, I was literally just at the Mets game this weekend.
Okay. No, but I know we did a Mets, we promo you guys in June,
Yes. Yes.
a Substack on Positive Pen.
Yes.
And so who was really truly a Mets fan? Was it you that the Mets fan that you influenced your son, or your son influenced you? Like, who came
Well,
first?
let's put it this way. Since 1986, nobody chooses to be a Mets fan. So it's something that I unfortunately inherited from my dad, who was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan, and then he
Yeah.
became a Mets fan after they moved out of Brooklyn. And so I've been a Mets fan my whole life since 1984. I born 79, but I started watching sports in 84, 85. And yeah, so we forced it on Braden. It's some hands that you're dealt, right? So we just threw it on top of the pile. Like, sorry, buddy, this is the hand you were dealt. You got to be a Mets fan. Luckily, redheads look good in blue and orange. So
So I'm a
yeah.
Vancouver Canucks fan, and
Oh man. All right.
57 plus years, not a Stanley Cup. It's not a fun.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't they lose to the Rangers in '94?
Yeah,
I only know that because I'm an Islanders fan, and that's when the Rangers fans went all crazy.
that was Messier, and it was all,
Yep.
yeah, no.
Shout out to Pavel Bure.
Yeah,
Right?
he
He
was
was
awesome.
good. He was a good player.
I actually saw, just sorry, sideline. I actually went to the first game that he played against the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh
And this
wow.
is before Winnipeg Jets came back. This is the old
Oh,
team.
got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Randy Carlisle was in defense, which was an old defensive guy
Mhm.
who is actually a coach, or was a coach. Anyways, so we were sitting in the corner of the ice, and we're on we were where the players were sitting,
Yeah.
and we're kind of just sitting in the corner, and the puck was playing around. Pavel Bure was in there, and then he gets it, and then he pops out of the corner, and and I'm looking at the fight, right? Because there was a fight going on, a
Oh,
scrimmage, stuff
got
like
it.
that. So I was like, yeah, fight, 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 right? And all of a sudden, he pops out, and my friend goes, "Holy smokes, look at him go!" And then everybody just jumps up. And he took that puck, wheeled himself through a bunch of people, did a
Yeah,
doozy
he's
doo on the
fast.
blue line, and got past Randy Carlisle, who was one of the best defensemen in the league at the time, made him fall, comes up to the net, and shoots, and almost scores a goal, and just went off the
Yeah,
post.
yeah.
I mean, that's how this guy was electrifying.
Oh yeah, he was fast. I remember. I remember
Yeah,
it back then. So
he was huge. Yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. So I know the feeling about being the Mets fan. We never won. At least you guys won a World Series.
We
We had
did. We
all.
did win in my. I was so when I was a kid, the Islanders won 4 Stanley Cups in a row. The
Yeah.
Mets won in 1986. And hey, listen, we just had the Knicks win, and I am a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
So that was my dad was very happy because he hadn't seen the Knicks win in like 53 years or whatever it
Oh
was.
wow.
So yeah, my dad was very excited when the Knicks won this year.
That's cool. Yeah, that's, it's kind of nice that you have that bonding with your son going to the sports and
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
mean, he's okay. So his condition is nonverbal.
Hmm.
What other things can he hear
Yeah,
and
so he basically he has global delays. He's basically has the developmental level of a 1-year-old.
okay,
But he's in a wheelchair. He doesn't walk. He's nonverbal. He luckily he can communicate like viscerally, like he can clap his hands and smile, and if he's mad, he can cry and like stuff like
okay,
that. But yeah, and then he does eat, thank God. He eats well. He's a good Italian boy, so he doesn't need a feeding tube or anything other than when he was recovering.
yeah,
So he's doing good with that. But yeah, and he's also legally blind. So he can see, but he can't like lock in on you. So he'll
okay,
like look around, he'll look at the lights at the ceiling or at the blinds, and he
mhm,
never really like locks in. He will for like 20 seconds sometimes, but so that's really the biggest things is and he's getting bigger, right? So as he gets bigger, we have like Hoyer lifts and
mhm.
different equipment that we need to transfer him safely. So yeah, he's 100 pounds now. So
Wow.
getting my workout in.
So, like, did you have to, like, people don't know how much work there is to do this. So I'm asking questions to
Yeah,
kind of give people an
of
understanding.
course.
Like, was there a lot of remodeling to your home to accommodate him, or were you already kind of
Yeah.
like set up?
So we're on the ground floor of our house, and um there is a walk-in shower that we luckily, because he's on Medicaid for his disability, one of the things that was covered through our county was the bathroom renovations,
Mm.
because we needed to get a full walk-in bathroom, not just a walk-in shower, but a walk-in bathroom with no lips or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stairs or anything. So, and the entire bathroom, we needed the entire floor to be basically go like waterproof, so that would go down the drain. Like when we bathe him in his wheelchair, it all goes to one drain on the floor. Um, so yeah, it was a huge project. We luckily did it during the pandemic. It
Mhm.
just so happened that that's when it was approved. Another thing, we waited a year to get approved, but it did get approved. Usually what happens is we need something and it takes a year. So we try to think a year in advance. What are we going to need next year? Uh,
Oh, so you
but
guys, so technically, what you guys do, you guys have like a wish list that you guys submit requests every year just to
Well,
hopefully get
like,
them.
so for example, like, uh this year we needed a new wheelchair because every 5 years we can get a new wheelchair, and he was outgrowing the old one.
Oh,
And like, he
okay.
was like, he could barely fit in the old one. So this year the big thing was getting a new wheelchair that now he can have for the next at least 5 years as he's still growing. This is actually an interesting story. This is just a side note for a minute, but I never thought of this, but I met a family who had a baby that was missing a limb,
Mm,
right? And think about this for a second. These prosthetic limbs cost like thousands and thousands of dollars, right? And think about this, when they're babies to when they're 15 years old, how many times they need a new limb replacement
right.
because of you have to match the
The
other
age.
limb.
Yeah.
So I never thought, but that's like very, in another way, that's like very similar. Like, think about what are the things he's going to outgrow. And it's like, we can't think of everything. So sometimes
No.
we don't,
Yeah.
but the bathroom remodeling was something we got approved and did. Luckily, we needed a special bed that's fully motorized and goes up and down, that isn't a hospital bed. Because when he got out of the hospital, I did not want a hospital bed in our house. It was just
Yeah.
too much PTSD. So there is a company that does it, but they never cover anything. So we were able to get that through a grant, and then we paid a little bit out of pocket for it.
Mm,
But we have to be creative and resourceful. We do save up. He has a special account that New York State has something called an NY Able account, where you could put a certain amount in that's tax free. So we have that account for him that we can pull from if we need to. But everything we do, we have to be very resourceful, and it's a ton of paperwork. It's a ton of emotional energy that I hate to have to expend on that,
yeah.
but it's necessary, and it is very hard.
Do you have Fun Go or a Fun? No, no. So you have an account there. So it's almost like a what do you call
It's like how like kids have like those college
college?
accounts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it's like that, except for special needs. So because he's not going to college, it's like
yeah,
a special account that you prove that he's disabled,
yeah.
and you get like up to a certain amount where it's tax free. So we never have to worry about. We give him a savings account essentially, but we don't have to pay tax on it.
So just for the audience out there, is there a way to donate to that if they want to donate to that fund?
Yeah, I mean, we're good. I mean,
Okay.
it's not like a GoFundMe or anything where
Yeah,
it's
no, but
like
if
we're.
someone wants to hand out some like $20 just for the sake toward,
Yeah, there's like it's not like a QR code. It's like a
yeah.
secret link. Like I,
Gotcha.
I there's, it's like a gift link. Like if I send the gift link out, people can then donate to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah.
so I'll just anyone who wants to donate, reach out to Chris personally and he'll set you up. How's that?
That's very nice of you. Very nice
Okay.
of you.
And and if you want to give me the link, I'll put it in the description
Sure,
so that they can do that like that. How's that?
sure,
Okay.
sure. I'll give you the link. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's very nice of you. I appreciate it. And we're very lucky. We're very blessed. We're in a good spot. But yeah, like it's not necessarily the money. Sometimes it's the time it takes, even when something is covered. like for example, the first wheelchair van that we bought, paid out of pocket because he wasn't on Medicaid yet, and he was getting. We were blessed with a child who is physically going to be 200 pounds and 6 feet tall, and yet, he outgrows everything. Whereas like most kids that have these kind of needs are not as big.
Yeah.
But our next wheelchair van that we get should be covered as a special uh, grant from Medicaid. But
Mhm.
again, it'll take like a year for them to approve it. So
So just for contents for people to understand what you
yeah.
go through, like in your shower, do you have like two wheelchairs, one for the shower, or is it
Yes, so we have what's called a portable shower chair.
okay?
So what we do is we take him out of his wheelchair, and we get him ready for a shower. We put him in the actual portable shower chair, and that wheels right into the bathroom and into the shower. And then from there, it has different, like it's set up so you can wash him everywhere,
Yeah.
and it's waterproof and everything. And he loves the water; like he always liked being in the
Oh,
water. So he does enjoy it, which is great. Luckily, he doesn't have that sensory issue
yeah, yeah,
where he hates water.
yeah.
So
Do you talking about that? Do you take them to like a pool or something like that? For you still is there an
yeah,
opportunity from that? Yeah.
yeah. So when he was younger, we actually took him to swim class.
Okay.
And then whenever we go on vacation, we get him into the pool. They a lot of facilities for adults they have it, so it helps him. Those like motorized lifts where you can get into the pool. So a lot of the places we go will have an accessible pool. And then there's people like uh there's a mother and daughter who help watch him with me, who have been with us for 9 years. So they're kind of like his, they're called C in New York State, they're called consumer directed providers,
Mhm.
meaning we hired them to help us take care of him. And we go to their house, they have a pool in their yard, and we go to their
Mm.
house and get him in the pool, and we trust them with him. And it's nice to have like help when we get him in and out of the pool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we make it work.
So so do you guys have harnesses, or are you guys physically picking them up and moving them from
So if we tag team, we can lift him, and I can still lift him when he's awake. Like he'll kind of reach up and help me. Like I can like lift and transfer him pretty good. Like,
okay.
but we do have a Hoyer lift.
Okay.
So that when the time comes where we can't do it, but we put him in the Hoyer lift, and it's like basically behind his wheelchair, there's a sling, and then
Yeah.
we'd attach the sling to the Hoyer, and then crank the Hoyer and transfer him that way.
But the
Yeah.
most important question I still wanna ask you is, do you guys have, like do you guys have enough do you guys have date night just for the 2 of you to kinda go out and just do like, take a moment, take a
Mhm.
break? I know that's important, but I mean, like, do you guys have date nights and
Mhm.
scheduled, like, and
Yeah,
how does that
so
work?
yeah, there's a couple of ways we can do it. If he goes to sleep, say every night between 7 and 8 o'clock. So if we want to go out after that, like my parents are around, so like they can come over, and while he's sleeping, and if they don't have to lift him or anything, they can kind of like keep an eye on him. And we also have the mother daughter. The daughter comes at night sometimes to watch him while I go and play like volleyball or pickleball.
Okay.
And or if we want to go see a movie or go
Yeah.
out to dinner, like we do have the babysitters that have the um, training to be able to take care of him.
S
One of the people that helps take care of him is one of his former nurses,
Oh,
who just we become close with. So she'll offer to like watch him, and which is nice.
that's nice. Well, so you are trying to make a normal life out of
Hmm.
this situation, that's huge. So let's
Yeah.
dive into your writing and why and the process you go at it. Is it mostly now you are a PR worker, which is basically writing on top of writing on
Yeah.
Substack. It, is most of your inspiration coming out of like moments that are kind of difficult, or is it enjoyable, or what kind of like where do you think most of your writing comes from? Is the challenges, or is it more of a joyful moment?
Sure. So I've loved writing since I was in fourth grade. I
Okay.
used to write on yellow composition paper, like those lined
Yeah,
yellow
yeah, yeah,
composition paper, right?
yeah.
And I used to love vocabulary. I think it's because my teacher in fourth grade said if you win the vocabulary contest, you get to like Burger King, like back when
Oh,
teachers could like bring you Burger King.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I've always loved writing. I was a creative writing major in college,
Okay.
where I went to Binghamton, and it always comes from a place of almost like I can't express it yet, except for when I'm writing. So if I'm going through something really traumatic or unpacking some PTSD of all of this experience of caregiving that has been thrust upon me, it's usually coming from a moment that affected me in a very, very profound way. But the only way I can really let other people feel what I felt is through my words that I write rather than me talking about it.
Mm.
It almost like gives me fluency in the stuff that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
So it definitely comes from a heart, and then there's other moments of like nostalgia, like that. I was just talking. In fact, Erin Gregory and I are good friends, and I know you're going to be interviewing Erin next week. Erin and I were just texting about 2 hours ago, and she was like reading something of mine that I sent her, and she's like, "Do you have any writing where you talk about your life before Braden and compare it to your life after Braden?"
Mm.
And I actually did write a poem a few weeks ago called 90 something summer. And it was one of those like 90s nostalgia poems. And then all of a sudden it flips forward to my role now as Braden's dad. So it's that juxtaposition of what I had in my adolescent years versus what he has, and it's almost that contrast and the not losing sight of the fact that, you know what, maybe I had it pretty good back then compared to, what's going on now, even though I didn't know it because in 1995 I was an angst-ridden teenager. So I think I definitely try to throw in a lot of
Yeah.
like Gen X millennial nostalgia with like the harder things about Braden
Yeah.
and the caregiving.
Yeah. That's so so also saw there was something you did with parenting, and was that your story, or did the actual reporter come report about you guys, or something you submitted?
Mhm. No, that was actually my story. So there's a magazine, it goes nationwide.
Mhm.
It's called Exceptional Parent Magazine.
Yeah.
And I actually was first introduced to them a few years ago. There's something called the Abilities Expo, and they travel all around the country. And it's basically a trade show for families of kids with special needs to
Mm.
get access to all of the latest equipment in one place. So instead of me going to 30 different vendors and figuring out where they are, I can go to the Abilities Expo once a year and see what they can do for my son. So it's actually a very helpful trade show. It helps us as families and it helps
Right.
them reach out to the families they want to reach with their technology. And so they had a booth. This is years ago. They had a booth there, and I was like, "Wow, that's a really cool magazine." And I subscribed back then, like 8 years ago. And now that I'm doing this, I reached out to the editor in chief and I'm like, listen, I feel like I have a story to tell. Can you tell me the parameters? What's your word count? What do you want from me? I've been subscribing for 8 years and I really think it's time for me to tell my story. And I explained who Braden is. And she wrote me back, oh, there's a space open for our July issue. It's 1,500 words and send me 5 photos. So I
Cool.
so I wrote up, I actually had something longer. I wrote up like a 4,000 word piece, um, just because I was reflecting on what was just, again, in longer form, I was reflecting on everything that was happening. And so I took that piece and made it 1,500 words and had it fit her parameters. She loved the story. She was like thrilled. She loved the photos that I gave her.
Mm.
And she ran it in their July issue that's online and print, and I was very happy because I know what it was like as a parent attending the Abilities Expo and reading that magazine for the first time and seeing families of kids like Braden. And the fact that his story can now reach those families who might need to hear it while they're going through something very, very difficult.
Mhm.
That's the reason I really wanted to get this in that particular magazine, because I know it's going to reach the right people, and I thought it was the perfect home for this story.
Yeah, so I used to work for the New York State. Well, I didn't work directly, worked with them. Um, is it Nisus, New York Disability, and they're out of Albany. And
Mhm.
what they do is they do a lot of work for they employ people with disability, and they have these workshops throughout the state. And I know a lot of them out there. Is and I know your son's still in special needs in school and all that. Is that where they'll is do you think that's where he'll end up with one of those organizations, like doing
Well,
some
he doesn't have the mental capacity to probably like have a job, you
mm,
know. So what we're trying to do, because we're being realistic, right?
yeah,
So what we're trying to do is set him up for the best chance of staying home with us, as long as we're around.
yeah,
If it really gets to a point where we can't, then that's when we have to look into the other options. And I mean, there are group homes, there's other facilities, there's other programs, but I think Melanie and I are on the same page where we just want them with us,
yeah,
and we want to give it. I talk about this a lot, where we try to go on vacations, we try to let him see these experiences like the Mets games and the Islanders
yeah,
games and things like that. We never want him to be the type of kid that we're afraid of taking him out. And
mm,
unfortunately, I've heard stories of people not handling their fate very well in terms of their kids and what they do and don't do. And they don't sign them up for the proper services, or they keep them home because they're afraid of this, that, and whatever. And like, we never want to be those parents. So we, as hard as it is to pack like 3 weeks worth of stuff in a 3-day weekend trip, we will do it every single time, because we want him to experience the world, even if it's from his wheelchair and even if it's through his lens that, you know, is different.
that's awesome. I and right there is the story. The parent that would do anything for their child.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's huge. That's and definitely you're still what kind of publication are you writing, like weekly, or is it just more
Yeah.
spontaneous? How do you, are you what's your schedule like?
Yeah, so I do every Monday.
Okay.
It just so happened that the weekends are a good time for me to really set everything up. And my writing process, I usually write like late. Sometimes I'll write at like 3 in the morning. I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and I'm writing something. And usually it's the weekends when I'm like able to do that without having to wake up the next
Right.
morning like for work. But I've been doing every Monday at 6 a.m. for the past year. So that's what I just every Monday, it's either a post or a poem or a reflection of some kind. And then from there, everything else I look at as optional. So when I do a live like with you, or if I do a collaboration, I love doing collaborations. And so if
Mm,
somebody invites me to do a collaboration, I'll do like a cross post maybe later in the week.
mm.
But I like giving like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to like Monday I post, Tuesday and Wednesday I engage and just focus on like letting people know like, hey, what's going on this week? What are you up to? I like reading other people's work. And then from there, it's optional the rest of the week, but I try to do once a week on Mondays.
I was really thinking about this as we were talking, because I'm doing Remy's journey about, and he's going through a couple
Yeah.
hardships here. I was thinking it'd be kind of cool to have him meet Remy in
Yeah.
a storyline. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
thinking out. I was just like daydreaming about that as I was like, when I was talking about the Remy first, I was like, that'd be kind of cool to see if he
Yeah.
would, how that would work. I don't know, just
I
the
I
thought.
will say this. You know what's interesting too? I would love to see how it would change Remy's perspective.
Mm,
Because one thing about Braden is everybody who's ever met him, whether it's through one of my articles
Right.
or just in real life, like I swear to you, he has this effect on people that it just makes them better. It
Does he
just
does he allow to have dogs around him? Is he
yeah, he does like animals, and we are I we it's funny because he's at the age now, he's gonna be 12. We've
yeah,
talked about getting a companion dog, but we wanted to wait until he's a little older. And well, there are organizations that have been in touch with us already, and it's actually pretty cool. One of the organizations, they'll like train the dog for a year based on your child's specific needs,
right.
and then give them to you after the training and make sure it's good. So it is something we've talked about.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm not too far from Long Island. If I make a trip to Long Island, I could bring
Oh,
Remy along
yeah.
and see if that would, yeah, and see
I
if he
think
like.
there's a kindred. I think there's a kindred spirit between animals and kids that have things go, or even
Oh,
people that have things going on. Like you've heard stories about like the dog that sits with the person who's sick and like
yeah.
there. I feel like there's a they know more than
Remy,
we think.
Remy loves his mother.
Yeah. Well.
He does. I mean, like, so every morning, just before her alarm goes off, I'm up before everybody else, but he goes in the
That's
room
funny.
and he lays in the little bed. And then as soon as the alarm goes off, he jumps on the bed, or even before that, he'll jump on the bed because that's the only time he's allowed to be on the bed. So he gets on the bed and they have a little ritual. And the ritual is belly rubs,
Oh,
kisses, like like a little all that kind of stuff. And it's just like I don't like Marie. But she's been doing it for years. So it's like, the dog, Remy's like 4 years old now. I think 4 years old, but that's their routine every single morning. Yeah. And then they
we
have like then she has her coffee. Then they go outside with the neighbors, and the neighbor has their dog, and they kind of like, so Lily was the neighbor dog. Um, and she would go out there and they would play around a little bit, and then she come back in and then she gets ready for work. So that's her routine, and that's what Remy's routine is. And then Remy's with me for the rest of the day, and
that's
it's like
funny.
he's like missing mom every 5 seconds. So
So we
yeah.
had an American Eskimo named Star,
Okay.
and we had her before Braden was born. And so before Braden was born, she was Melanie's dog. She would do yoga with Melanie. She
Oh
would
wow.
hang out with Melanie. She would always be with Melanie. When Braden was born, Melanie was furthest thing from her mind, and all she did was hang out with Braden. It's like she knew that he was special, and she knew that he needed extra support. And she slept right outside his crib, right outside his room, until she passed away. She was older. She passed away when he was 6 months old, but she literally went from Melanie's dog to Braden's dog like that.
Well, I'm serious. If you want to collaborate, that's one way you should do. I'll bring Remy up, and you can
There you
write a
go.
story from your perspective. I'll write from my perspective, and let's do that. How's
Yeah, that
that?
would be cool. That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll figure a time to do that. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So what's the future like for you right now? What do you think the next? I mean, are you living kind of like day to day kind of thing? Is there a little bit more future kind of like in the plans?
Yeah,
Or you,
so right now it's definitely day to day. I have a lot of just the first thing that will always be the case is caring for Braden. So
yeah.
Melanie and I make a good team. So like this morning it was her, that woke up early and took care of him, got him ready for school, which was very nice. And then, just again, day to day. So today, he gets off the bus. How was his day? Nurse said he was good. I hung out with him. He's good. He's chilling. He's happy. And, it's just every day is an adventure and we see what happens. Luckily, knock on wood, we're in a state right now where he's medically doing great. His medications are all working and they're anti-seizure medications. So he's doing good. He's happy. He's, you know, no medical danger, right? So that's like I always count my lucky stars, and I'm thankful
That's
for
all you can
that.
ask for.
Yeah, and then on the writing front, that Exceptional Parent magazine was great, and the other thing is I have a poetry book that I wrote, basically a collection of all of the different poems, and it's currently a finalist for shortlisting in the hands of an editor. So we'll see what happens. It was one of 700 submissions, and it's down to the final group.
Wow.
So we'll see. We'll see. I'm supposed to find out by the end of August if that happens or not. Either way, I'm very blessed to be a finalist there. It was a blind submission, so
Is
you
a
know how
book
hard.
is a
Yeah,
book live? Is a book live on Amazon or something like that, or is that
not
no?
yet. So I'm waiting to. It's in the stages of seeing if I can get it published before I try
Gotcha.
to self-publish.
Gotcha.
So I'm just excited because it's like the culmination of the last 2 years of my journey,
Yeah.
which is like from him being in the hospital to now, and the growth that has happened in myself. So I've talked about this a lot, but there is a PTSD that I was carrying that I didn't know I was carrying until I joined Substack. And in the past year, I just felt like I made that decision to let everything go, like I told you, but just that PTSD of like how you can wake up in the middle of night and have a flashback to different moments of him being in danger, and it's like horrendous. And so like writing as much as I have been over the past year has really helped me with my PTSD, and I'm not having as many nightmares,
Yeah.
and I'm not going down that rabbit hole as much that I was talking about, where I think about all the things that he won't have. And
Yeah.
I'm very, very blessed with the things that he does have, which is the ability to breathe, the ability to smile, the ability to clap his hands. Like all the other stuff doesn't even matter anymore.
Well, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Um, so what is like a lesson learned that from Suspect that you can share with somebody else that you could pass along?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit already, and about when the whole AI thing came out last
Yeah.
week. And I'd love to really talk to you about that because I know you had a good post, a good comment about it. But basically, you know, I could care less about this AI bullshit that people were talking about, because if you think about it, whether it's 4 p.m. or 4 a.m., I have to take care of my son.
Yeah.
And that means medications, laundry, equipment, making sure he's cared for 24/7, making sure, his backpack is good, making sure his wheelchair is good. Like the other day, his wheelchair brakes broke, and we had to do an emergency appointment to get them fixed because that's his mode of transportation. So
Right.
all this AI bullshit, I was like, come on, have my life for one day and then tell me if you care about Pangram and whether or not it scans your stuff. So like, and for me, people can see, that I'm living my life and bearing it all on Substack because it's about community and collaboration. I love the community. I love chatting
Yeah.
in every. I go to your community chat, John. I like my community chat. I like other people's community chats. I like having real conversations with
Mhm.
people, and sometimes the best ones are in those chats,
Oh
or
yeah.
leaving a or a thoughtful comment on a note or a post. It's really just community. Be consistent, build community, find your people. Don't worry about growth hacks and 78 things to do to your Substack right now to make it go viral. I had a note go viral. It has 1,200 likes. And like, so what? You know what I mean? Like it was great. It felt good, but like the only reason I would be like, oh, that's amazing is because it helped reach other caregivers.
Yeah.
I don't care about the vanity metrics. I really just want people to help each other. And when you help each other, good things will happen.
That's exactly what I did. And in fact, when I posted that in my private chat,
Yeah.
there was so many positive things coming out of it. And
Yeah.
that's why I wrote the story I wrote for
Yeah.
today. And actually I bumped another story for today. And that actually was something that it didn't bother me. Like I didn't really give two
Oh,
shits
yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I was like, but when someone came up and said, "Hey, detected AI all over your thing. I was like, wait a minute, that's not all AI. That's my words. I mean,
Yeah.
AI may help a little bit here and there, but that's my words.
Yeah. I
That's
know.
my experience. That's like AI cannot create your experience. No
Yeah,
way.
have my life for
Yeah.
one day and tell me if it's AI. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just it's come on.
Yeah.
Like stop it, people.
But
Like get
the
over it.
but the reason why then I wrote
Yeah.
that, and then what what you just specifically said was the community came out in force in the sense of like, wow, thank you for doing this, being
Yeah,
transparent, blah blah blah, being authentic. And that's
exactly.
when I had the idea to collaborate. All like, that's sort of my way of collaborating with people, and I wrote and I put
Yeah.
their stuff in that article,
Hmm.
and
It's great.
it that's how I collaborate. It's the days of collaborating where I would sit there and write and then get somebody to co-author and all that. It was getting tough because people were like weren't accepting, so it was kind of hard. Now,
Yeah.
so when I do Friday's show or when I do Friday's guest like yours, it's collaboration there, and then we collaborate on Monday
Yeah.
again, and that kind of, and then we collaborate one more time,
Yeah.
and then this goes out later tonight. But the thing is that's how, I found that a lot more easier than when I was doing over a year ago when I was writing inspirational stories, because no one was really like, it was hard to get information. No one was getting, I was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'm going to do something a lot more. I can't rely on people like yourself because I know how busy you guys are. I'm trying to write something. So
Yeah.
I got to be the detective. I have to go and investigate and kind of figure things out and put it in an article that I can somehow figure it out. And there's enough on Substack that you could pretty well figure out what a person is. I
Yeah,
mean,
like I
that's my
love
right.
going live. I love going live. I took a break from the for the summer for my own show that I do,
Yeah.
called Typing It Real. And like I literally I had no rhyme or reason other than I really am a fan of what this person said. And I'm like, hey, you want to go live with me? And if they
Yeah.
said yes, great. And like it just I formed so many real actual friendships from that. Like every single person I've gone live with, I think I have their cell phone number and we text randomly. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like because
Yeah.
that's how I am. Like I was the guy before cell phones. Like if I was commuting to Manhattan,
Yeah.
my old job, I would talk to the people on the train. Like
Yeah.
like it was fun. Like I always liked getting to know people. I liked interviewing people. I was always curious.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. Like I feel like that's something that the AI and all that can't replicate is these honest conversations that we're having.
Yeah.
And it's like it also helps other people see, oh wow, this person's real. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like I said, I use AI because I'm dyslexic, so I want to make sure I pronounce words or I'm not mixing up. Sometimes I'll screw up on names or I might screw up on a word. It just happens, and I've come to the point where, I want to sound coherent. I don't want to sound
Oh
stupid.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
but it's not that I'm, and that's that's and I actually a lot of people who were dyslexic came back out and said, thank God you're saying that because I use it for that as well. So I was like, oh geez, I opened up another, like how you are doing with your caregiver, same thing I was doing. I was like opening up other people's fear of being exposed, and then I'm
That
like,
is
no,
very important.
embrace it,
It's
embrace it.
such an
Yeah,
important story for you to tell and get out there.
yeah,
There's a one of my guys in my community, Christopher Carrazes. He did an amazing post on the AI thing this week, and it was basically about him always being he's autistic, and he was talking about being labeled and put into boxes his whole life, and being saying that his writing is too precise and this that whatever. And he did this amazing post about the AI thing and how it's just another way for people to miscategorize his autism. And
right.
it's so true.
Well, when I did my first couple books, so I hired a ghostwriter. So I would do the draft, I get it all, figure it out.
Yeah.
They would go and they clean it up, and then I had to hire an editor, and then they would, say, hey, this doesn't make sense, or the person before that didn't. So that's $1,000, let's say, out of the
Yeah.
pocket, right? And you kind of think about it, like, so why is that? Why is that okay? as a ghostwriter and writer and all that kind of stuff, and
Yep.
yet the AI is not okay.
Yeah. Save
How does
yourself the
that work?
$1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that work? So I don't know. I look at it this way. If you come to my content is always about real stories, about real people, making
Mhm.
sure that you understand. And I write, and sometimes I write about even my daily posts on notes. Those are just me sitting down thinking about the moment. That was a
Yeah.
moment wrote like, and I was like, and it's not that I don't do that because I do that because it's like you. Sometimes I just need to get it out, and I need to
Yeah.
figure out how to say it, and that's sort of like my outlet right away. Um, but I look at it, I was like, when I first heard about it, I didn't give two shits. I was
Yeah.
like, who is not using AI? If they're saying they're not using AI, get off the app because that's AI. I don't care what you think. Get
Yeah.
off the AI because you are in Substack. You are using AI tools, no matter what you think. Because there's auto corrections in there,
Oh, yeah,
there's
yeah.
algorithms that they use, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on. So when that happened, I just didn't care. I just was
Yeah.
like, whatever. But then someone brought it up, and that's when I
Yeah.
said, hey, full disclosure. Now, what I do, there is a disclosure in my post on the bottom that I do write, hey, author's note, look, I use AI to help with spelling, grammar, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And if you have a problem with that, you can leave.
Yeah. To me, it's like if it's your idea and your brain, like, you know, it came from your brain, right? If it's your idea, your creativity, your whatever, then it's not like you're going on there and saying, write a story about this. You know what I mean? So like come on. You know what I mean? Like it's
Here,
yeah.
I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to just show what I do. And because I don't think I want to get this how real this is. Um, so I shouldn't. So, well, there's there is stories like I'll just like well hang on. These like obviously those are my notes that
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done throughout my entire life.
Got
And
it.
it just goes on and on and on
Yeah,
and
yeah,
on
yeah.
and on. And they're and I've been trying to delete them because they're filling up my phone's
Oh
memory. But
yeah, yeah,
and then I have voice. I do a lot of voiceover, so I'll just do like when you do the 3 o'clock in the morning thing. I
yeah.
don't do that way. Like what I'll do is I'll when I'm driving or I have some
Oh wow.
downtime and I get bored and I start thinking, I start pondering, and I go, what if like sitting here talking about Dremy, like what happens if he went to go visit the kid and that how did that would work? Kind of like that's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
And so I in my head I'm thinking about that story, like how that story would look like in Remy's eyes. And so in my head I'm already creating the story. So where do I have to verbalize it out, get transferred over and start working on it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But same thing with my draft. I have over I think 50 drafts in there that I've written stories and I haven't posted them because they're there. And then I'm starting to post some older ones that I've done for a while, and they're coming out during my summer break.
Oh, nice,
Trying
nice.
to get them out because
Yeah,
because they
that
have
makes
the old
sense.
format, they have the old thing, and rather than dealing with all that, I didn't really want to deal with it. So, but yeah, that's the whole AI. I think eventually it's all going to blow over.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
it will. It
nobody's
will. It
going
was
to
just it
care.
was just something like we said before we went on today. It's like something for people to complain about this week.
Right.
You know.
Well, Chris, I'm coming to a close, and I'm going to say, it was a joy. I really appreciate this conversation. I don't know if you really talked about the day to day things on your child and how
Yeah.
that was working, but I really wanted to talk more about that because I don't think people really truly understand the grind that you guys go through. And you
Yeah.
guys are heroes in your own ways. And for your son, and your son's a hero to you guys. And that's awesome. and the love that you give to your kid and letting go. I mean, all that stuff is tough every day.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful that you had an opportunity to talk about that today on the Positive Pen. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate it too, because it's nice to have different facets of the story told in, you know, an honest way.
Yeah.
And I think, again, as we started this conversation, right? Be honest, and that's it. That's the
Yeah.
trick. And it really helps me to talk to you and open that door of, yeah, it is hard and it is a grind. And it's like I said during this conversation, I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean I wrote a poem once. I wrote a poem once called Seen in the Margins, and it was actually a poem inspired by another caregiver on Substack. Shout out to Denise Servais. She has a daughter with Prader-Willi syndrome who, um, long story short, we have some things in common with the caregiving.
Right.
And in the poem, this is, I think, the crux of what we're talking about. I wrote this line that has stayed with me. Usually I don't remember like specific lines like this, but this one,
Yeah.
I think it really talks, it encapsulates what we've talked about today. Choosing him 10 times out of 10
Mm.
doesn't erase the ache. That line has stayed with me since I wrote it. And that was a 3 a.m. thing that I wrote. It was choosing him 10 times out of 10 doesn't erase the ache. So, of course, I love him more than anything. And
Mhm.
of course, I wouldn't wish his fate upon anyone.
Mm. Well, with that, thank you for being on here. I think that's a good place to end.
Thank you.
And for everybody, Carl Tame has also said, let's collaborate. He wants to collaborate. I guess I'll just connect you both after
Sure.
this. And Daniel Levitin. It was this is your brain on music. I think that's the book.
Oh, yes.
Daniel.
Yes, it is. It
Okay.
is. Yep.
So thank you, Kelly, for bringing that out. Appreciate that. And just want to make sure John Marks had a lot of wisdom passing out. Letting go is accepting is a big one. And everybody else. So hey, everybody else who joined, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. Again, we'll be on next week with Aaron Gregory at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to that as well. Remy's Journey will be out Wednesday, and the story of grief is in the forecast for our little puppy. And hopefully we can come up and meet you there in Long Island. That'd be fun. And thank you. I appreciate everything you did today. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to everybody down the line.